Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I'm so thrilled you're here. Today, we're putting on our tech consultant hats to completely decode the Itil 5 framework. We're going to cut right through the buzzwords and reveal how digital value is truly co-created in the modern enterprise. We'll be breaking down everything from your basic, foundational definitions all the way up to advanced AI capabilities. So if you're ready to master the anatomy of value creation, let's get started.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, the building blocks of value. Second, the 8 lifecycle activities. Third, the 4 management dimensions. Fourth, the Itil value system. And finally, fifth, modern Itil, featuring AI and site reliability engineering. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The building blocks of value. So, what actually makes a service valuable in the first place? At its core, value isn't just about handing over a finished product. It's about delivering clear, tangible outcomes and a seamless, positive experience for the consumer, without forcing them to manage all the underlying costs and risks. To really understand this, we need to categorize our service levels. First up is utility. This is simply what the service does. Basically, does the app actually track your expenses? Then we have warranty, which is the assurance that the service is actually fit for use. Sure, the app tracks expenses, but is it highly available? Is it secure? But here's the really cool modern twist. Itil 5 elevates sustainability. It moves way beyond just does it work to include an ongoing obligation to environmental stewardship and social progress. It's a fantastic shift. Now, how do we actually deliver these services? Well, Itil categorizes delivery into 3 distinct buckets. If a provider actively does something for you, like running a live online training session, that is a service action. But if a cloud provider just grants you permission to use their virtual machines, they aren't giving you ownership, right? They're just giving you access to resources. And finally, if a software company ships you a batch of shiny new physical laptops, that's a straight-up transfer of goods. Getting these distinctions right is absolutely crucial for mapping out exactly how your business interacts with its consumers. Moving on to Section 2, the 8 lifecycle activities. This is where we look at how we actually go about creating that value. These 8 product and service lifecycle activities form a dynamic value chain. This isn't just some rigid, sequential checklist. You start out by discovering what your consumers actually need, designing the right solutions, and maybe acquiring some third-party resources. From there, you'll build your solution, transition it safely into a live environment, operate it day-to-day, deliver on your promised value, and continuously support your users. Think of this entire lifecycle as the literal heartbeat of your digital product. Let's zoom in on that transition phase for a second. Imagine you're rolling out a massive software update. How do you actually know if that deployment was a success? Well, according to Itil 5, you don't just look at how fast you pushed it out, you have to obsessively track the number and impact of transition errors. The whole goal here is to minimize disruption for your users while maximizing your speed to value. And here's a really fascinating shift when it comes to the deliver activity. Did you know a lot of digital providers today are trying to drastically reduce or even totally eliminate manual service actions? You might wonder, why remove the human touch? Well, it's all about guaranteeing absolute consistency and being able to rapidly scale your operations. By leaning heavily into smart automation, mass-market products strip out that human friction, making them incredibly repeatable.
Okay, Section 3, the 4 management dimensions. This is all about holistically supporting the ecosystem. To truly support that ecosystem, you have to balance 4 specific dimensions. Think of them like the 4 legs of a chair. Organizations and people ensures you've got the right corporate structure and skilled talent in place. Information and technology governs your vital data and tech systems. Partners and suppliers is all about managing those tricky external dependencies. And finally, value streams and processes involves designing your cross-team workflows. If you neglect even one of these legs, the chair tips over, and your value creation will inevitably collapse. Now, looking a bit closer at that partners and suppliers dimension, we really need to distinguish between 2 types of relationships. On one hand, you have strategic partnerships. These are bespoke, highly tailored, high-trust relationships focused on shared innovation and long-term goals. On the other hand, you've got standardized services. These are your basic, off-the-shelf, highly transactional contracts built for broad markets. Misunderstanding which type of relationship you're actually managing is a super common pitfall, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
All right, let's pull all the way back for Section 4, the Itil value system. This is the big picture. Central to this whole big picture are our core guiding principles, and the first one is just profound. Think and work holistically. It demands that we actively seek out patterns and interactions across the entire system. Because let's face it, absolutely no service, team, or workflow should ever be managed in isolation. Having that end-to-end visibility, it's completely non-negotiable. Here's another incredibly practical principle. Start where you are. And why does this one matter so much to us? Well, you know how when a team wants to improve something, there's often this impulsive urge to just scrap existing methods and start entirely from scratch? ITIL explicitly warns us against that. Throwing everything away wastes so much time and destroys perfectly useful capabilities. You've got to objectively assess your current state first. And remember, these guiding principles aren't just some rigid, step-by-step checklist, nor are they optional little suggestions. They are highly adaptable tools. It's your job to critically evaluate how relevant each principle is to your unique situation and then use them to guide your decision-making contextually. Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, Modern Itil featuring AI and SRE. We are looking directly at the future of service management. First, let's talk about SRE, or Site Reliability Engineering. SRE bridges that historical, often frustrating gap between software development and operational stability. It literally takes software engineering practices and applies them to infrastructure problems. This forces a massive cultural shift, moving an organization away from just putting out fires and frantic incident response and pushing them toward proactive, ultra-scalable reliability. For complex environments, it is an absolute game changer.
And of course, we cannot talk about the future without bringing artificial intelligence into the mix. Enter the ITIL AI capability model, also known as the 6C model. You can think of this as your strategic playbook for AI. It offers a functional classification of AI solutions so you can genuinely assess and develop your capabilities. Crucially, it supports tailored AI governance. This helps you figure out exactly how AI can supercharge your product management, all while keeping a really tight leash on the associated risks and controls. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought about your own ITIL ecosystem. Ask yourself, which of those 4 dimensions, organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, or value streams and processes, is your organization currently neglecting in its pursuit of value creation? Take a really hard look at your current state. Thank you so much for joining me today, and remember, keep thinking holistically.